Uganda, a land of breathtaking beauty, rolling hills, fertile soil, abundant sunshine. This East African nation is blessed with a landscape that seems almost otherworldly in its splendor. From the misty peaks of the Rwenzori Mountains to the vast expanse of Lake Victoria, Uganda's natural beauty is undeniable. But there's more to this land than meets the eye. Beneath the surface lies a treasure trove of minerals. These minerals have the potential to transform the nation's economy and uplift its people. However, the story of Uganda's mineral wealth is not one of prosperity and progress. Instead, it is a tale of exploitation and missed opportunities. Gold, copper, cobalt. These are just a few of the valuable resources found in Uganda's rich soil. Each of these minerals holds significant economic potential, capable of driving development and improving the lives of millions. Yet, the reality on the ground tells a different story. These riches, however, have often been a curse. The extraction of these resources has left behind a trail of environmental degradation and social upheaval. Abandoned mining sites and derelict machinery litter the landscape, serving as stark reminders of the cost of exploitation. For decades, Uganda has been trapped in a cycle of exploitation. From the colonial era to the present day, foreign powers and corporations have extracted its resources with little regard for the well-being of the local population. The wealth generated from these resources has rarely benefited the people of Uganda. Foreign powers and corporations have extracted its resources, reaping enormous profits while leaving the local communities to deal with the consequences. The presence of international mining companies is a common sight, their logos emblazoned on trucks and equipment, a constant reminder of the external control over Uganda's wealth. This extraction has left behind a trail of environmental damage and economic injustice. Rivers have been polluted, forests have been cleared, and the land has been scarred. The environmental impact of mining activities is profound, affecting not just the landscape but also the health and livelihoods of the people who depend on it. The people of Uganda have seen little benefit from their own wealth. Instead of prosperity, they have faced poverty and hardship. In many rural areas, communities struggle to access basic necessities like clean water, healthcare, and education. The wealth beneath their feet has done little to improve their quality of life. Instead, they have endured poverty, conflict, and instability. The competition for control over these valuable resources has often led to violence and political unrest. Protests and conflicts are not uncommon, as people demand a fair share of the wealth that is rightfully theirs. Their land has been degraded, their rivers polluted. The environmental consequences of mining are severe, with long-term impacts on agriculture and water quality. Farmlands have become barren and water sources have been contaminated, making it difficult for communities to sustain themselves. The time has come to break free from this legacy. Across the country there is a growing movement demanding change. Activists and community leaders are calling for a new approach to resource management, one that prioritizes the well-being of the people and the environment. Uganda is demanding a new era of equitable resource management. The government is beginning to take steps towards more sustainable and fair practices, implementing new regulations and policies aimed at ensuring that the benefits of Uganda's mineral wealth are shared more equitably among its people. The hope is that with these changes, Uganda can finally break free from its legacy of exploitation and build a brighter future for all its citizens. The world is hungry for raw materials. These materials are not just any ordinary resources, they are the backbone of our technological advancements and industrial growth. From the depths of the earth, we extract minerals and metals that are essential for the production of countless products we rely on daily. They are the lifeblood of the global economy. Without these critical raw materials, the wheels of commerce and industry would grind to a halt. Our cities, with their towering skyscrapers and sprawling infrastructure, owe their existence to these vital resources. From smartphones to electric cars, these materials power our modern lives. Every device we use, every vehicle we drive, and every piece of technology we interact with is a testament to the importance of these raw materials. They are the invisible threads that weave the fabric of our contemporary existence. And demand is only growing. As populations increase and economies expand, the need for these materials intensifies. The bustling marketplaces and crowded highways are a clear indication of the ever-increasing consumption patterns. The transition to a green economy, while essential, will require vast quantities of critical raw materials. Renewable energy sources like wind turbines and solar panels, as well as electric vehicles, all depend heavily on these resources. The shift towards sustainability is not just about reducing carbon footprints but also about securing the materials needed to build a greener future. This presents both an opportunity and a challenge for resource-rich nations like Uganda. The stakes are high. On one hand, there is the potential for economic growth and development. On the other, there are concerns about environmental degradation and the equitable distribution of wealth generated from these resources. Control over these resources will shape the geopolitical landscape for decades to come. Nations are acutely aware of the strategic importance of these materials. Political alliances and conflicts often revolve around access to and control of these critical resources. The competition is fierce, with developed nations and emerging economies alike vying for access. The global race to secure these materials is intensifying, leading to collaborations and rivalries on an unprecedented scale. International business deals and trade agreements are frequently centered around the acquisition of these vital resources. Uganda, however, is no longer content to be a passive bystander. The nation is taking proactive steps to harness its resource potential. By investing in modern mining technologies and infrastructure, Uganda aims to become a key player in the global supply chain of critical raw materials. The future holds promise, but it also demands careful planning and sustainable practices to ensure long-term benefits for its people. A new generation of leaders is emerging in Uganda. They are determined to chart a different course. They recognize the value of their resources. They are no longer willing to accept exploitative deals. Uganda is demanding fair partnerships. Partnerships based on mutual respect, shared benefits, and sustainable practices. The message is clear. No more free raw materials from Uganda. The old model of extraction without development is over. Uganda is determined to leverage its resources for the benefit of its people. The European Union is facing a critical raw materials crisis. It is heavily reliant on imports, particularly from China. This dependence has become a strategic vulnerability. In response, the EU has launched a series of initiatives aimed at securing its supply chains. These strategies focus on diversifying sources, promoting recycling, and developing domestic production. However, the EU's efforts have largely focused on securing supplies from other developed nations. Deals have been struck with Canada, Australia, and the United States. While diversification is important, this approach risks simply shifting dependence from one set of external actors to another. Section 5. A flawed approach. Criticisms of Western strategies. The EU's critical raw materials strategies have faced criticism. Critics argue that they are too focused on securing supplies for European industries, without adequately addressing the needs and concerns of resource-rich developing nations. There are concerns that these strategies could perpetuate the very patterns of exploitation they are meant to address. There is a growing recognition that a more equitable and sustainable approach is needed. An approach that moves beyond the traditional extractive model and focuses on shared value creation. Section 6. Philips, a case study in responsible sourcing. Some companies are beginning to recognize the need for a more responsible approach to sourcing raw materials. This shift is driven by growing awareness of the environmental and social impacts of traditional sourcing methods. Companies are now more than ever under scrutiny from consumers, investors, and regulatory bodies to ensure that their supply chains are not only efficient, but also ethical and sustainable. Philips, the Dutch multinational conglomerate, has implemented initiatives aimed at ensuring the ethical and sustainable sourcing of its materials. These initiatives are part of a broader corporate strategy that emphasizes sustainability and corporate social responsibility. Philips has set ambitious goals to reduce its environmental footprint and improve the social conditions of the communities involved in its supply chains. The company has focused on due diligence, transparency, and stakeholder engagement. Due diligence involves rigorous checks and audits to ensure that suppliers comply with ethical standards. Transparency is achieved through detailed reporting and open communication with stakeholders, including customers, investors, and non-governmental organizations. Stakeholder engagement involves collaborating with various parties to address concerns and improve practices. Philips has worked to identify and address risks in its supply chains, such as child labor and conflict minerals. Child labor is a significant issue in many industries, and Philips has taken steps to ensure that its suppliers do not engage in this practice. Conflict minerals, which are mined in conditions of armed conflict and human rights abuses, are another area of concern. Philips has implemented measures to trace the origins of these minerals and ensure they are sourced responsibly. While these efforts are commendable, it is essential to recognize that corporate responsibility alone is not enough. True change requires a collective effort from all stakeholders, including governments, non-governmental organizations, and the communities affected by these industries. Policies and regulations must be put in place to support and enforce ethical practices across the board. Systemic change is required to transform the entire extractive industry. This means rethinking how resources are extracted, processed, and utilized. It involves adopting new technologies and practices that minimize environmental impact and promote social equity. By working together, we can create a more sustainable and just world for future generations. Section 7. Beyond corporate responsibility, the need for systemic change. Addressing the complex challenges of equitable resource management requires a fundamental shift in the global system. This includes reforming trade policies, promoting responsible investment, and strengthening governance structures. It requires empowering local communities and ensuring that they have a voice in decisions about their resources. The international community has a responsibility to support developing nations in their efforts to manage their resources sustainably and equitably. This includes providing technical assistance, capacity building, and access to finance. Section 8. Africa's leverage, a seat at the table. The global shift towards renewable energy and green technologies has created a unique opportunity for Africa. The continent is richly endowed with the critical raw materials needed for this transition. This newfound leverage gives African nations the power to demand better terms. African nations are increasingly coordinating their strategies, recognizing that by working together, they can amplify their voices and exert greater influence. The African Continental Free Trade Area, or AFCFTA, provides a framework for regional cooperation and integration. Section 9. A call to action, towards a more equitable future. The future of resource management is at a crossroads. The choices we make today will have far-reaching consequences. We can continue down the path of exploitation and unsustainability, or we can choose a more just and equitable future. Let us work together to build a world where resources are managed responsibly, benefits are shared fairly, and the environment is protected for generations to come. Let us ensure that the wealth beneath Uganda's soil translates into a brighter future for all its people.